Everyone knows this music. Carl Orff's Carmina Burana from 1936, and I want to talk about those opening chords.
Keith Horn's Chord of the Week.
Carmina Burana's opening movement, O Fortuna, is probably the most famous cantata of the 20th century. We've all heard it 100 times, used for whenever something needs to be apocalyptic or super epic, and there have been 1,000 variations that have been inspired by it. And we'll probably hear a lot more of it when it becomes public domain in a few years. And I think it's important to know what the piece is about before we get into the harmony. Now, I know some of you are like, dude, get to the chord. I don't have 5 minutes. So I'm going to play the opening chord while I talk about the piece. So you can have this up. Here we
go.
That's the first chord. It's in the corner. And I'm going to talk about the piece for a minute. So in 1934, Carl Orff came across this anthology of medieval poetry called Carmina Burana, which translates songs from Bavaria. And out of the 254 poems that were in there, Orff decided to set 24 of them to music. The poems he chose deal with the variable nature of fortune or fate, the ephemeral nature of life, the pleasures of and perils of drinking and gambling and lust. The first and last movements are identical. O Fortuna, an appeal or invocation to the goddess of fate as she spins her wheel to decide the fate of mankind. And of course, we all know the modern equivalent of the goddess Fortuna, Ryan Seacrest. So let's get into these chords. First one is this. It's D minor add 2, or D minor add 9, some would say. It's an add 2 because there's no 7th. And the voicing is 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Notice there's no 5th. That A is not in there. Let me add it in, and you can hear the difference. It adds like a brightness to it. And it kind of softens it with the full triad. Now let me take it out again. I'm taking this note out. Here we go. Right? I point that out. It's a small thing to point out, but that omitted 5th is important to this voicing.
This is important.
And here's the second chord. It looks like a C chord, and some people would say because there's a C and an E that it's some sort of C, sus4, add sus4, C11. I just see it as an F major 7 over C, again without an A. In this case, it's the 3rd. If I add the A in, it does a similar thing that when I added the A, that was the 5th of the first chord. It's the 3rd of this chord, and when I add it in, it brightens it up. It softens it somehow. It's less dark. Let me play it again without it. But adding it in, I think it actually weirdly makes the chord worse. I can't explain why really, but I think it makes the chord worse. It's better without the A. That omission is key. The other thing I love about the second chord is this minor 9th, that bite that you kind of get as you'll get this in Bach sometimes, something like this. Where you'll have that incidental minor 9th, just a passing minor 9th. But that's sort of what this is. There's a bite in there. Third chord. It's just a B flat major with an add 2, but again, no 5th. Look at this. There's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and it resolves to just a B flat major without a 5th. If we add the 5th in there, again, it makes it worse. And I can't explain why it makes it worse. It just kind of does. So again, all 3 of these chords, the omissions are key. And finally, the last bar, F over A. And we just sort of walk down. There's a passing A minor 7, again with no 3rd. That's not in there. It softens it if it were in there. And then finally we get to a full triad. This is a D minor over A, which if you know a little bit of music theory, you'll know that that's a 1-6-4 in D minor. Normally it would resolve like this. But in this case, he resolves it. He does go to a 5, but he just goes here to just an open 5th. That is the 5 chord. Again, missing a 3rd. If he did this, it wouldn't hit like this, does it? It's just the omission, again, is key here. So in part, what gives these chords their signature sound is the fact that they have holes in them. And for those of you who demand a resolution, let me give it to you. So in Latin, O Fortuna, velut luna, statu variabilis, which translates roughly to, O fate, like the moon, you are in a state of flux. And I'm grateful that fate brought you here, to my nerdy corner of the world.
Yeah. Who this? This beat. Yo, who this? Yo, who this? Who this?